Selma is about the voting rights march from Selma to Montgomery that happened in 1965. Like most films based on a true story, it exaggerates or changes some details to make it seem more dramatic. For example, in the beginning it shows the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, which killed 4 girls. Footage of this is interspersed with Martin Luther King receiving the Nobel Peace Prize, giving the idea that they happened at the same time, but the church was actually bombed in 1963, a year early. Another example is when it shows the death of Jimmy Lee Jackson.
But I can tell you one thing for certain. God was the first to cry. He was the first to cry for your boy.
Yes, I believe that.
He really was attacked and shot by state troopers, but it was in Marion, not Selma, and he didn't die right there like the movie shows. He actually died 8 days later in the hospital. Martin Luther King did preach at his funeral, though, and it helped inspire the march.
Give us the vote!
That's right. No more.
We're not asking, we're demanding. Give us the vote!
The biggest inaccuracy in Selma is the portrayal of Lyndon B. Johnson. It depicts him and Martin Luther King arguing over voting rights. Johnson says that he needs to wait for voting rights laws and that his current priority is ending poverty. He even sends an FBI agent to monitor King and other civil rights activists and tries to stop them from marching.
We want federal legislation granting Negroes the right to vote unencumbered.
Well, that's fine, but most of the South is still not desegregated. Let's not start another battle when we haven't even won the first. This voting thing is just going to have to wait. March those people into rural Alabama, unprotected, it's going to be open season.
And propose new legislation, sir.
I can't do that this year. I won't.
In reality, Johnson was a big supporter of civil rights and encouraged the march. However, the film does show him eventually changing his mind and calling for a voting rights bill to be passed. There has also been debate on just how inaccurate the depiction is. While we know he supported the civil rights movement and passed the Voting Rights Act of 1965, there is evidence that he didn't think he could get voting rights legislation through Congress at the time and did say he wanted to focus on anti-poverty laws first. There are also many accurate things about the movie. For instance, when it shows Annie Lee Cooper attempt to register to vote, she is denied when she can't list all 67 judges in Alabama.
You work for Mr. Dunn down at the rest home, ain't that right?
Yes, sir.
Wonder what old Dunn will say when I tell him one of his gals down here stirring a fuss.
I ain't stirring no fuss. I'm just here trying to register to vote.
Recite the Constitution's preamble. You know what a preamble is?
We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union.
How many county judges in Alabama?
67.
Name them.
Asking difficult questions about the Constitution and government like these was one of the tactics that was used to prevent African Americans from voting, and she was a real person who had tried to register 4 times before. The film also does a good job depicting Bloody Sunday. This was on March 7, 1965, and was supposed to be the first day of the march from Selma to Montgomery. When the marchers tried to cross Edmund Pettus Bridge, they were stopped by police and state troopers who beat them and threw tear gas.
May I have a word?
There's no word to be had.
The people. The people. The people. The people.
All of this is reenacted perfectly with some lines straight from John Lewis's autobiography. They even recreate a famous photograph from the time of Amelia Boynton being knocked unconscious. The second and third marches are also depicted accurately. As the movie shows, more people came out to support the march after seeing what happened on TV. But Martin Luther King turned them around when they got to the bridge, afraid that without a court order to protect the marchers, the same thing would happen. Finally, the court ruled in favor of the march, and it was completed on September 17th. Overall, I think the movie Selma was historically accurate. While there were definitely some changes, they were usually not major and were balanced out by correct details.